Another podcast, but this time I'm talking about what I'm gonna broadcast about what I'm gonna ask my parents. And I have a sheet here, if you can hear right here. So I'm gonna be talking about the Day of the Días muertos, Day of the Dead. So you gotta tell them these type of questions, and I know where it is from because it's from Mexico. So where did it happen? It happened in Mexico. And I don't have the year on here because I tried to search on the computer and I couldn't find it. And so it's been young. So what happened? So what do we do in this type of thing? Mexico's viewed it not as a day of sadness, but as a day of celebration, because their loved ones awoke and celebrate with them. Families build areas of a holy table to honor the dead in their home. So technically what this is saying is it's like a type of religion Mexican people do. But for my family, we don't really do it that much. We just we know we have to respect the dead. That's the only thing we do is respect the dead and care about our loved ones. So it's some people are really religious about this, or they really care about this event. They really go a step further for this. And I love those people, and I love everything about it because it's really caring about your type of loved ones and everything about that, and it's great. What is the satisfaction? Prayers and reminder remain bread of friends and family members who have died. The Day of the Dead is a nice day to meet our loved ones' grave, to pray and give them gifts. So that means we go visit the graves and you're respecting them, you bring them gifts, but usually you give them mazapan, that's type of a candy bread. So a candy bread, we leave them there, and any type of food they like, we just leave them there. And then people say when you leave bread there, the loved one, the ghost of them, their soul comes by and picks it up and takes them to the Day of the Dead, the living somewhere. They go across the bridge like Coco. If you've seen the movie Coco, you wouldn't know what I mean. You have to cross a bridge and you see this new dead city, and that's where they are. And if you see they pick up food and they bring her back to their hometown of the dead. So that's what it means. For me, I found something interesting is about the celebration of the Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Lasts for 2 days. One is for dead, and the other one for the dead adults. People hope there is that the spirit of the loved ones can be comfort to come back for a short time. So this is what people think if you go to their grave, or if you really care about them, you go to the grave, and people say I'm actually meeting my loved one. They're actually here with us. I can feel them around me. I can feel other people around me. So if you go to the grave and you respect it, you feel like they're there. That's what's interesting about me, because some people say they see their loved ones, but some people say you're insane. But you never tell that to a Mexican person. Never. Because it's it's just too sad, and just you have to think about it. And people actually do see them. I've been told so many people seen ghosts, like some good, some bad, but there's a lot of good. So that's what interesting about it. And one thing is so interesting, and it's not on this paper. One thing is so interesting. It was, for me, I'm glad it became a type of event where Mexican culture comes about, caring about their loved ones. Quieren mucho la gente, quieren mucho. A lot of people will care about them, who love them so much. And sorry, I'm translating sometimes because I feel like I have to respect this. Like, it's kind of like a religion thing. Like, I'm not really religious, but Dia de Muertos, Day of the Dead, you have to respect it. You have to respect that culture right there. And it's amazing. And it's just surprised me. So many years I've been knowing about this. And it's so shocking. It was too amazing. And when I was a kid, when I grew up in a world, and eventually the Muertos came about, and I've been learning it every place. And when I was a kid, when I was in, I don't know, middle school, kids school, I don't know, they made us make cards for our loved ones, or make cards for Day of the Dead. I thought back then I didn't have nobody who died, how I know of, but we started to make them to be respectful for the dead and all that. So we made cards, how much we love this person, if they actually died, or we have a loved one in our minds, and we put it down. And we just decorate the hallways, and we just put Dia Muertos, Day of the Dead, pictures on the wall, or decorations. Like right now in Morn East, there's a lot of decoration of Day of the Dead, because Halloween is coming and Day of the Dead is coming. And the Day of the Dead, Días de Muertos, Day of the Dead, is coming first before Halloween. And Day of the Dead is the most specialist event ever. But me and my family, we don't really celebrate it. We just celebrate as it is. The only thing we celebrate is like we eat to respect them. And I couldn't go to their grave, because all my loved ones who died, only one person I know who died, it was back in Mexico, so I can't go back to that because I'm here in America. So I want to go back and go visit my grandpa. I really do. And my grandpa was the funnest grandpa I ever had. He had a candy store. He owned a candy store in Mexico, and I always buy one of these gum packets, and he always gave me the cinnamon, because I love cinnamon gum, and it's like in a small package with multiple gums in there. I think there was 5 or 6 gum in that one packet, and I always get I always get all of them, but usually my grandpa always gave me the cinnamon one before I go back home, or I go back to America. And now he passed away, and right now I wish I hanged out with him more. I really do. It's just sad to think, when I was a kid, I didn't really want to hang out with, like, I want to hang out with them, I do, but back then I was a lazy kid. I was really lazy. So right now I have to think, when the Day of the Dead comes, I always think about my grandpa. Still now, I still think about my grandpa, the most greatest grandpa I ever had. Now I have this new grandpa, and he tells me stories, and it keeps me distracted to not feel sad about my other grandpa. But every time I looked at my other grandpa, it reminds me of my old grandpa, and I miss them. So Day of the Dead, it will make me remember, respect, and pray for my grandpa, mi abuelito. We need to respect them. Sorry, I'm kind of drifting right now about my grandpa, but I'm still fine about it. And I wish I can see him one more time. And that's why Day of the Dead is special. Because Day of the Dead is something like you can go to the grave and hang out with your loved one, and you think you can sense them. Because people say if you go to the grave at Day of the Dead, you feel a cold presence. And that means your loved one is near you. And if they touch you or move something in their grave, that means somebody's there. And you always feel happy, but you wish you can see their face. You wish you can touch them, but you can't. They're a ghost, they're a soul. And some people go through that. Like, one things I learned about the article, because I learned more about it, was mucha gente está muriendo because the Días muertos. It means a lot of people died in the Day of the Dead because most of the people there died because they can't take it anymore. Like every Day of the Dead, they had to relive the memories of their loved one dying, and that's horrible. And you're just like, oh, and like the whole time you think he's alive, then you realize he's not. Then the Day of the Dead, it reminds you that. And there's almost, it's a small percentage, but for Mexican people that's a big percentage. So the percentage is like 45 to 75% people died in Mexico and in America. And it goes to a lot of deal for some of them. Like there was this woman who was a mother of 2 kids, and she had a husband, and her husband died in Mexico while she was in America with her kids, because the dad couldn't cross over, couldn't come over here, because back then it wasn't fair. Because he was a legal immigrant. He couldn't pass. He didn't have the papers, and the wife had papers because she went to America before, and she went over there in Mexico, and she met a man and made love, and she had 2 kids. And when she heard it, she was sad. Then a couple months later, she was okay. Then when next year came around and Day of the Dead came by, she remembered the day when her husband was that, and she had to keep living it for a couple years until she went to her room one day while her kids were at like a play date, and one of the kids stayed. Like, she has two children, right? And one went for a play date, one stayed at home watching TV or just playing around the house somewhere. And the kid who went, he was 10 years old, and the kid who stayed at the house, he was 8 or 7 years old. And the mom went to her room, and all you hear is, and the kid was still playing around, and finally the kid trying to find her mom. He couldn't find him, so she checked her room, and the door was locked. And he's trying to knock at the door, but the mom won't answer. So the kid was crying and crying until his 10-year-old brother came by, and the 8 or 7-year-old kid came by and tell the big brother, the 10-year-old, Mom's not answering. She's at the door and she's not answering. And the 10-year-old went by the door and he knocked as well. Then the mom wasn't answering. So the kid knew something was wrong, because the 10-year-old was smart. He knew what's happening to his own mother. She was depressed all the time. She was pretending to be happy, but the kid knew she had like, she was sad. That's all he knew. But more and more he grew, he realized it was depression because somebody told him. But at that moment he didn't know, so he's like, oh, mommy is sad. So he called the next door neighbors and help him out. And the neighbors came in and knocked at the door, and the door wasn't, and she won't answer. And they knocked the door down, and they came in, and the mom, they saw on the desk there was pills. The more they look around the room, they see her. She got hanged. She hanged herself. And the grown-ups, the neighbors, told the kids to stay over there, to stay out there, don't come in. So they called the police, the ambulance, to come by and trying to save the mother. And at a split second at the hospital, she woke up to see her 2 sons, but her neck was broken still. She couldn't move. Then the doctor said she only has 2 minutes to live. Or I forgot, 2 minutes or 2 hours. I forgot the article. So it was like 2 or 2, like, it was, she only had 1 hour. Let's say that. She had 1 hour to live. So the kids didn't know what that meant. But the neighbors knew what that meant. And some of the family members of her came by, and they were crying because they knew was or I forgot, 2 minutes or 2 hours. I forgot the article. So it was like 2 or 2, like, it was, she only had 1 hour. Let's say that. She had 1 hour to live. So the kids didn't know what that meant. But the neighbors knew what that meant. And some of the family members of her came by, and they were crying because they knew was what it's gonna about. Then after 1 hour passed, she passed away. And the kids stood there crying, and the uncles had to take them, or one of the aunts has to take them. So now the kids had to live for the rest of their life having no parents. They just have uncle and an aunt. And that was the end of that article. And the first time I heard that article that made me legitimately sad, I actually cried. I'm about to cry right now. I don't know why. But it's an actual story, an actual thing. And they never said what happened to the children at all. It's just, it was a sad day for them. Like, all it says here, they got information from the 2 kids. I can't remember the names, but they're from her kids. They're like, it says one of them is like 20 and the other one's like 18. And they got inside in an interview because they want to know what happened. Why did the mom did that? I actually cried. I'm about to cry right now. I don't know why. But it's an actual story, an actual thing. And they never said what happened to the children at all. It's just, it was a sad day for them. Like, all it says here, they got information from the 2 kids. I can't remember the names, but they're from her kids. They're like, it says one of them is like 20 and the other one's like 18. And they got inside in an interview because they want to know what happened. Why did the mom did that? And they told the whole story when they were a kid. And I think that's what happened. And when I heard this article, it was sad. And I almost cried because I don't want that ever happen to my family. I want nobody ever go through that. It's horrible. And it's just that. And sometimes Day of the Dead will bring some bad memories, or just brings happy memories, sad memories. But Day of the Dead is the most specialist place. Some people says it's a curse Some people say it's grateful. Some people never doing that event, never got involved, never. So people can like, okay, I can do this. Some people can't. Their emotion gets to them. Something happens. But some people, like, they stick together. They continue what they have, and they were grateful where they are now because of that person. So they thanks a lot to them. I'm gonna end the broadcast here because it's going too far down, and I don't know if I can keep going, because I got myself sad here. But it's just wow. It's too it's just too sad and depressing as well. So yeah, this is gonna be the end of the video, so bye.